Hi, friends, and welcome back to Getting Close, a podcast about connection. My name is Aidan Wharton, and today you and I are connecting with Ben Greene. Y'all, I can't believe this is the last episode before we take a little break for the summer and go on a little summer vacation. But don't worry, I'll be very active on other areas of the internet. And happy Pride! What a year to have Pride. I thought long and hard about how I wanted to celebrate Pride on this podcast and what Pride means to me and how I can impart that to you. Pride to me is all about connection, obviously. It's what the whole podcast is about. And it's about making new connections. It's about honoring old connections, but it's really about how we come together in this digital world that we do live in. And so I could not think of a better person to spend this Pride episode with than you and my new friend, Ben Greene. Ben and I met over Substack in the fall, and we have become fast friends. And so what you're about to see is the first time that we've actually existed together in the same space. And it was such a wonderful, wonderful conversation. Everything that Ben says blows me away. It's just wise and thoughtful and most of all joyous. Everything that Ben does is centered in joy. And obviously that is something we need so much of right now. And so if you are feeling a little downhearted, or maybe you don't have quite the Pride spirit that you were hoping for, I guarantee you this episode will bring you some. Let me tell you a little bit about Ben. After coming out at 15 in a small town, Ben has devoted his career to spreading empathy, education, and storytelling around the trans experience. Whether it's for NASA, Johnson & Johnson, or over 200 PFLAG chapters, Ben leads with joy. He is the author of the Substack Good Queer News, as well as the book My Child is Trans, Now What? A joy-centered approach to support. He has been nominated for a GLAAD Media Award and is passionate about leading with joy and educating others from a place of compassion, no matter where they're starting from. Obviously, just from that bio, you can tell what kind of a person Ben is. And in this conversation, we talk about how Pride is a mile marker that we all have the honor of passing by, why you should fight in a British accent, concrete ways to bring more whimsy into your life, Ben's brilliant 2 similarities tip on how to actually meet new people, why you may not always be able to choose happiness, but you can always choose joy, how he stays hopeful in these trying times, and we talk about our budding friendship and the way that you can observe us becoming new friends, and with the comfort and discomfort and uncomfortableness and laughter that comes with it. It is one of my favorite episodes, and I am so happy to be able to send off season 1 of Getting Close with Ben Greene. So, without further ado, let's get close with Ben Greene. Hi, Ben.
Hi, Aidan.
Welcome to Getting Close. Oh my God, this is crazy.
We've been internet friends for so long.
We have been internet friends
real.
for a very long time, and I'm so excited to have you here in person in the studio.
So excited.
On our Pride episode, and the final episode to be airing that'll have been filmed in the studio.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
We're moving homes, everyone, and I'm very excited.
Wow.
And I honestly couldn't think of a better person for this Pride episode.
Makes me so happy.
So to kick us off, what does Pride mean to you? A classic question.
Gosh, Pride to me is a mile marker. I love it as a okay, let me stand here. Let me take stock of where we were. Let me take stock of where we want to go and of where we are right now. So I love to use Pride to look back at queer history because it's so easy to forget how much they fought for and whose shoulders I'm standing on. But Lou Sullivan, a gay transgender man, one of the first gay trans men, and he worked so hard to build the first trans masculine support groups, to teach doctors in hospitals that you could be trans and gay. They thought all transgender men were straight. And he felt so invisible. I'm standing on his back. Marsha P. Johnson was surviving 3 articles laws that put her in jail every time she went out not wearing 3 pieces of men's clothing. Right. I'm standing on her back. I'm living beyond their wildest dreams and falling so far short of them at the same time. So I love to use Pride to be okay, what genuinely is a miracle to my transcestors? What did they fight for that I'm enjoying right now that I can be grateful for? And what am I going to do as a future transcestor? What am I going to build for the next generation of people so that they get to live in a world that's better. So like, yeah, I like the parties, but also I'm a homebody. So I like don't actually.
Well, and I
They're
think
a
a
lot.
lot of people who listen to this show enjoy the festivities and the parties. And I think what I love about you, just you have so much information in your head, which I absolutely am obsessed with, but you also hold a really good balance of work, the work that we need to do, and joy. And that has been such a cornerstone of how you exist in the world and on the internet and what brought us together. So for those of my listeners who are just getting to know you, can you talk a little bit about why joy is so important to you, especially as a trans person?
Oh gosh, I'm so glad you asked. That's my
Yes.
favorite question. I love joy. Joy is an incredibly beautiful strategic tool that incredibly importantly is distinct from happiness.
Mhm.
Happiness is an emotional state based on circumstances. I'm hanging out with my
Okay.
friend, I'm eating an ice cream cone, the weather is nice, I'm
Right.
happy. Joy is a deeper sense of contentment, satisfaction, connectedness that defies circumstances. I can choose to be joyful even when I am not happy. And
Okay.
making that choice is what allows me to do the work that I do. Choosing joy gives me what I need to be able to keep showing up. And it gives me something to fight for. So I do a
Right.
lot of work with parents of trans kids, and I've done over 200 PFLAG presentations. So I've really gotten to learn what parents are struggling with, especially right in the beginning. And so often they come in and it's all about fear and despair. Even if
Right.
they love their kid tremendously, I'm here to support my trans kid because I don't want them to kill themselves.
Right. And I think that's sort of writ large for a lot of queer parents in general, is that
yes.
no matter what, it's a fear of, I don't want your life to be harder. I don't want you to die, especially like for gay men, it was, I don't want you to get AIDS.
Yeah.
And so how did you, or how do you sort of reroute that experience for parents?
Yeah, with joy by saying, okay, it can be difficult. There are challenges that are going to come up. There are fears that are reasonable. And joy does not mean pretend that nothing is wrong. That is
Right.
ignorance, and that's different. Joy says, what are the joyful solutions to these problems? What is the future we are hoping to build? You know, what is your kid excited about?
Mhm.
I love to come into a room and say, hey, I am a happy trans adult. I have a wife. My wife and I are trying to have a baby. I have a dog that I
You'd be
love.
such a good
I read
dad.
a book. Oh, I'm so excited to be a dad. And so I get to be that possibility model.
Right.
And one of my favorite things to say to parents is very in the beginning, who is your kid? Who does your kid want to be? And how can I help them meet that version of themselves in the future? I have so many trans friends, queer friends, artists, filmmakers, people who work at NASA, like all brilliant trans and queer possibility models.
Right.
So we connect with our futures, we connect with our past, and then we say, I can solve this problem playfully. We're really struggling with pronouns in our house. Let's get a squirt bottle. And we're going to use a squirt bottle because instead of every time you use the wrong pronouns, it needing to be a fight, like,
Right.
what if it was funny, actually? What if the solution was something that made us all laugh and helped us remember, because nobody wants to get sprayed with water.
Right.
And like, it doesn't have to be serious all the time.
And I think that's such a good lesson, even outside of a conversation about pronouns, like, and this is happening on the fly, where like Casey and I, when we have arguments, we say that they feel very sticky. And I'm like, ooh, I want them to feel less sticky. Like, I want to be able to sort of ping pong things back and forth without them getting stuck on our emotions.
Yeah.
And it makes me think like, ooh, how can we bring in a little bit more play into arguing?
Yeah.
You know, what's the emotional equivalent of the squirt bottle for a serious discussion
I saw
between
someone
married
on
people?
TikTok once who said that they only have their fights in British accents.
Funny.
Yeah, it is so funny. And like, you're going to get mad, but also you're doing a bad British accent. And like, you could
Oh my
be
God,
through
that's
accents,
hard.
through
Yeah.
like motion. Sometimes if my wife and I are having a really like conversation that's getting really sticky, I'm like, hey, we need to go for a walk while we
Right.
have this conversation. We need to be moving.
Mhm.
And we need to bring our dog because he always does funny stuff that
Right.
is distracting and like a little bit of a pressure release. We can have fun. We're allowed. We have free will.
We really do.
Yeah.
And so what did that journey, because I think for a lot of people, that difference, again, between happiness and joy is hard to figure out. And I know, like, I've had people in my life, I've had exes say like, oh, well, just be happy. And that's like the most infuriating thing to hear. So as you were discovering the difference between happiness and joy, or if somebody is listening who is having trouble differentiating between the two, what did that emotional process feel like?
Yeah. I think the big thing for me is that my joy never asks me to pretend that a heavy emotion isn't present or doesn't exist. You
Right.
know, happiness happens when we can say, happiness is the absence of sadness, the absence of fear and anger. Like, I feel happy when I can forget about how bad the world is,
Right.
which sometimes like is great. The world is a lot, and it's great to be able to put that down sometimes. And for me, joy feels more intentional of like, hey, like I am honoring where the grief sits in my body. I'm honoring
Yeah.
where the rage is. And I'm now going to put that down. I'm going to focus not on like putting it into a corner under a rug saying that never happened. I wasn't angry. There's nothing to be angry about. I thank those emotions. And then I say, okay, now I want to, do something that helps me connect with myself. I want to go for a walk. I want to play a board game. I want to be around the people that I love.
Right.
And when it feels more intentional like that, it feels more joyful. I think the biggest.
Yeah, it feels sort of like rebellious, or it sounds rebellious.
Exactly. And that's the joy as resistance. It
Right.
grinds my gears when everyone loves to say joy is resistance. Really what they mean is like, please let me off the hook. I just want
Right.
to go to brunch. Isn't my happiness enough to fix it? No. Individual happiness is not resistance. It's healing. It's lovely. It's not going to do jack shit though. But joy, there is the energy for our resistance.
Okay. Right, because so many people use joy as resistance to also like refuel, How do you recharge when you're feeling down?
Yeah. And I think the big thing is that recharge means I'm building up my energy so that I can do something. If you
Sure.
notice that you just keep feeling like I need to recharge and that doesn't actually lead to anything, then that's a deeper need for something. Like, we recharge so that we can act.
Right.
And if you don't feel like you're ever ready to act, it means you're not recharging the right thing. So I recharge based on what feels empty. So sometimes I feel really like I'm socialed out. I need
Right.
to be alone. Sometimes being alone will exhaust me even more. I have different batteries. So I love to be alone and like go for a walk. I'm really into bird watching. I like to cook for people. Being in my community sometimes is really energizing for me. I also
Yeah.
have something that I call the transgender milkshake,
Okay.
which is basically
Please
that
tell me what that is.
anytime I give a speech, I go, especially if it's in person, I go and I get a milkshake afterwards.
Great.
And it used to be that I would always do it alone. And because it was a way to like go somewhere where nobody was going to ask me any more questions.
Sure.
I love letting people ask me questions, and that's not free. It's draining to let people ask me
course.
what is transgender 1 billion times in a row. I like it, but it's a lot. And so I go get a milkshake, and the only people who are allowed to come with me are other trans people. And every once in a while, I let somebody else slip through who's
Sure.
like, you'd be invited for the milkshake if you were there. Because I know you're cool. You get a
Thank
pass to the
you.
transgender milkshake.
What's your milkshake order?
Oh, God, it really depends.
Okay.
Classic is a vanilla milkshake with sprinkles.
Obviously.
But like a peanut butter, a mint,
Oh.
I could get on board with anything.
Oh, that sounds so good.
What
right
matters
now.
is that I'm going to get a milkshake. It
Yeah.
doesn't even like, it might end up being ice cream, might end up being soft serve. I don't really care. I'm just in that space that is set up for me to say, now I put down the persona. I put down, I'm not even really a persona, but like the focus on other people's learnings. And I come
Right.
back to, I'm getting a milkshake for me. This doesn't help anyone. This doesn't fit into any narrative. I'm getting a milkshake. I'm lactose intolerant. Those two things don't agree, and I don't care. I'm doing it for me.
Oh my God, I love that. And it's just, again, it's so important to just have sort of things that don't matter.
Yeah.
Sorry, not don't matter, that
That aren't for the
have
movement.
an objective.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm not a robot for changing the world. I'm a
No.
guy.
Oh my
I'm
God,
a
but we are going
person.
to talk about robots later.
Oh, I know what this is going to be.
My question for follow-up then is like, a lot of people, and I feel this at times too, and I think we've gotten really practiced at not outreaching people. That's a terrible, terrible way to phrase that. We've gotten really bad at like asking people to come with us at things. Like I think
Yeah.
about how many times I used to ride the subway with someone back from a party. And now I'm like, oh, it's like an hour train ride. Like, blah, blah, I'm just going to leave like 10 minutes early or whatnot.
Yeah.
Did you have to like overcome any of that social anxiety to remind yourself that like connection actually really is important in that way?
Yeah. I have those like anxiety urges that's like, ooh,
Right.
try and do this to be alone. And like, what I want to treat my emotions all as messengers. So I'm
Okay.
always like, okay, what is this anxiety telling me right now about a
Yeah.
need that's not met? Is it like that I don't feel comfortable around this person? Is it that I really need some alone time? And how can I have that need met? Sometimes the anxiety is just anxiety. And I'm like, oh,
Sure.
right, I have an anxiety disorder and I'm afraid of my email. Like, and actually, I still need to check my email, unfortunately, because it's not going to kill me. It's just email.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of like greet the emotion like a friend, and I'm like, okay, you're here to tell me something. I have this
Right.
impulse to isolate myself. And is this an impulse that's going to help me meet a need, or is this going to make me feel worse? And in particular,
Ooh.
things like isolating myself, or like sometimes it cloaks itself in rest. That's like,
Uh-huh.
well, wouldn't it be so nice to skip this event or to not go to this thing? Like, don't you just need a little more rest? And that's like the little devil on my shoulder
Uh-huh.
who's like, yeah, sit, stay
Oh
home,
my God.
re-download Instagram and scroll. You deserve rest.
Did you watch Big Mouth?
Yes.
It's the depression kitty.
Yes.
He's like, no, just stay. And I feel
Yeah.
like we are now in this moment where it's so easy to rest. It's so easy to practice self-care. All these are in quotes, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
in honor of yourself, which actually is just, in my opinion, a little bit of us being lazy. But I was at this dinner the other night and they asked us a question. We went around and I'm going to ask it to you and then I want to share my answer.
Okay.
What is something that means love to you that did not used to mean love?
Oh gosh, I have to think about that for a second. I think asking me questions about my story and my transition and like some of the like deep, real or frightening or like just really personal questions that
Mm-hmm.
for a long time felt really invasive. You know, I
Okay.
was one of the first trans kids in my high school, and like everybody felt entitled to my story in a way
Right.
that was so draining. And then I realized, okay, if I do this, it makes it safer for the next kid. So I'm going to do it, but I'm not going to like it.
Right.
And now I think I'm at a point where I'm like, I love telling stories and I've learned how to set my boundaries. So I think that's part of it, is that I can receive it as love because I know that if it isn't love, I'm allowed to walk away. But when
Ooh.
somebody wants to like sit down with me and hear my stories and like ask me about things that are deep and real and
Yeah.
personal, like that feels so loving to me now in a way that used to really frighten me and exhaust me when I was younger.
Huh. Okay, so for someone listening, again, the primary listenership of this show is gay.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of conversations with trans folks about all of the things to not ask about or to ask about. And I feel like sometimes there is this fear of asking the right question or the wrong
Yeah.
question. Are there any questions that you still feel like are very off limits, or things that you're like, you don't need to ask me about that, or things that you're like, oh, I actually really invite that?
I love like questions that feel like, no, we don't go there. Like, what do we lose by always being afraid to go there? You know, like somebody's really afraid to ever ask a trans person about sex and genitals. So they
Right.
just feel embarrassed and are like, okay, guess that I'll never, have sex with a trans person because I could never ask them about their body. Like some trans people aren't going to want to talk about their body. That's
Right.
fine. And like having a relationship where the other person knows they can say, I don't want to answer that question.
Right.
I've just met somebody. No, I don't want them asking about my body.
Of course not.
But if they're my friend and they're like, oh, I have this question about your surgical transition, about your
Right.
relationship. Like, if I don't want to answer it, I love myself enough to say no. And me being able to set those boundaries creates less fear of being able to be in relationships with people and like let them ask me weird questions because it's fun and interesting.
I love that. And again, I think it depends on context and
Yes.
relationship.
Yeah. How well do you know the person? Could they ask you a comparable question
Right.
based on where you are? Right. I'd answer a question differently in a coffee shop versus in an
Sure.
apartment. So where are you? How well do you know each other? What does trust look like in your relationship?
Mhm.
And like make a mistake. It's okay. We're all people being people together. It's
Well,
allowed.
and like it can be uncomfortable. I think that is the thing that I keep coming back to on this show, is that sometimes conversations are not always easy. They don't flow super well. They aren't scripted, so they just exist. And like that is okay. And I think we often hold ourselves back from making new friends, making new connections, having new relationships because we're scared of that. I would say like the first like 2 awkward moments.
Yeah.
Right? I just went to a show with a new friend and we got like a drink beforehand, and I was like, here we are. We are like notching down our relationship.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's also happened like with you and me. Like
I
we
definitely think so.
we became Substack friends first. We did some
Mhm.
Substack lives, and then we started talking more often. But then we like really had a conscious conversation about like how we communicate, and now we send like voice notes back
Yeah.
and forth. And I really appreciated that, and I think you're really good at building connections and community.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a word that I've learned from the asexual community that is one of my favorite words that's called a squish. Have you heard this
A
before?
squish, no.
It's a platonic crush. When you see somebody and you're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I want you to be my friend. And so I have been
Wait, that's
following
so
your Substack,
cute.
right? It's adorable. Thank you to the asexual community
Yeah.
for giving me the word squish.
A squish.
And I love it. And so I have been following you on Substack for a while, loving what you were writing. And then you wrote some post basically being like, I hate social media and we all need screen time boundaries and we can't build connection until we check our social media input. And I was like,
oh my God,
this man gets it. I need to be his friend.
But
And
I'm
I
also
think
such a hypocrite because I was like, did I write that? I have not been honoring that.
Oh, that was so long ago. It was so
long
good.
ago.
And
Oh my God, thank you.
I loved
Thanks,
it
past
so
me.
much and immediately was like, I have a squish on Aiden. I need to be friends with this guy. So I think I responded to that email and I was like, you're so cool, be my friend. And
here
I think
we
you
are.
responded and you were like, that's so great. And so then we like would comment on each other's posts. And I was like, well, I want him to be my friend. And earnestness is hot. I want to be earnest. We only lose when we're not earnest. And that's the thing that makes me the most sad about like the today era is how much shame there is around earnestness. I basically sent you a voice memo that was like, hello, Aiden, I had so much fun being on Substack Live with you. I would like you to be my friend. Here's my availability for the kinds of friends we can be long distance. And you were like, great, awesome.
I'm in it.
Let's do it. And it was so exciting.
And I love that you brought up earnestness because I think that is something that we both share.
Yeah.
And I think that not a lot of people feel comfortable with that because it requires so much vulnerability.
Yes.
And I think I've talked a lot about vulnerability on this show, sort of from the shame angle, but not the earnestness angle, which like is a much more joy-focused approach to sort of this kind of interaction. Did that always come naturally, or did you have to sort of embrace your earnestness?
I think post-transition, yes. Pre-transition, I was so weird. I didn't want people to look at me. I didn't have a lot of friends. I was really like, I was not a happy person.
Yeah.
I was not joyful and I was not happy. And I didn't feel seen. I didn't want to be seen. Like I was a real mostly into the warrior cats versus social interactions.
I loved the warrior cats. Oh my God.
Oh, this is fantastic.
Wow. For those who don't know, the warrior cats, oh my God, what is the name of the author?
Aaron Hunter.
Are about like...
Why is that in the dome?
Yeah, that was literally ready to go. It's literally just like a book series about these warrior cats.
Yeah, but it's about a society.
It is a society.
They had tribes. They had like laws. They had they were doing geopolitics in the warrior cat society.
And like there were cars and roads too. Like it definitely existed within our world.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, I haven't thought about those books in forever.
Me neither.
Actually, that's why I have thought about them because they're still really popular. Every time I go into Barnes & Noble,
oh, she's still writing them. Yeah,
that is
awesome.
a turn that I find so impressive.
Yes. So
okay, wait, back to earnestness.
Yes. So I was like lonely and not that happy for a while, and I like didn't have that many friends. When I transitioned, I became, this is not a typical transition story, I became very popular among the girls, not among the boys. The boys wanted nothing to do with me because of how earnestness is much scarier for men.
Sure.
And the girls were like, I asked one of my friends about it at one point because I was like, I have all these friends. Like, why do all the popular kids, like everybody wants to be friends with me? Why? And she said, because everyone is kind of putting on this show. We were in a very affluent town, which is very, very performative all the time. And she said, you're so real. You were willing to risk everything to be real. And that's amazing for people.
Yeah.
So I had that moment of like, okay, I like what I see, so I want other people to see it. So I started being more earnest. And like, it's so vulnerable. It's so
Right.
scary. And I think the reasons people are afraid of vulnerability is the same reason people get nervous or upset when I talk about joy as resistance and setting really big dreams and going out there and doing the work. Because if you are earnest, if you are joyful, you have to admit you really want it. And sometimes you won't get it. And that hurts more, and that's more embarrassing, and there's more grief. And it's beautiful. You're experiencing the whole range of humanness. But we'll, as a species, do a lot of things to avoid being really uncomfortable, like
and feeling
that.
really big feelings.
Yes. So it's always like, when I want to be friends with someone as an adult, the only way I have found reliably that works is to say, I don't know how else to do this. Do you want to be my friend? Straight up say the words, do you want to be my friend? Worked for kindergartners, and guess what? It works for grown-ups too.
My whole thing has been going back to kindergarten language.
Yes.
Like, I have found that a lot of times we use therapy pathology to increase our boundaries. I'm like, but what if we just go back to like, I am sad, you hurt my feelings, I want this. And then it actually just makes you be so much more vulnerable.
Yeah.
But what I love too is that you like show up. You literally just, in that, you were like, hey, I want to be your friend. And then continue to show up, which full circle is the thing that means love to me now that did not used to mean love, is showing up. Easy as it is now for people to cancel plans. When someone does not, that is a game changer. And it really shows that you are experiencing a bit of discomfort to actually have a plan now, because that means something. And that like really shows that you care, and that makes me feel loved and cared for. And then the relationship flourishes. But friendships like take work, and relationships take work.
Yeah. Everyone who says like, you know, I chafed for a while at the like, well, real marriages take work. Marriage is hard. Love is hard. It shouldn't be hard. Like, no, actually, it's easy to love my wife.
Right.
And I choose to act on that love, to take care of her. I choose to show up for my friends. Like, there is effort required, and that we don't owe anybody anything. That sentence breaks my heart.
It's a big one.
For all of us, because we'll, in the same breath, say, I deserve softness. We deserve love. You deserve good things. From who? I thought I didn't owe anybody anything. Where is this invisible? Right. It's like Bitcoin, but with affection. God. Who owns it? Where is it? What am I owed, and from who? I owe everybody everything, including myself. I owe myself love and boundaries, and I owe love to all the human beings around me. And my life is so much richer for having accepted that I owe kindness to everyone, and that everyone owes kindness to me. And they won't always give it to me, but that's okay.
It's so fundamental, and yet it's so hard to grasp, I think, for a lot of people. And I think if we sort of address the listenership who are primarily gay men, we have a really hard time taking down the walls that we've put up, right? Like, there's a lot of class issues, obviously. There's a lot of presentation that feels so rigid.
Yeah.
And what I found really potently recently is that people feel like they don't have any friends. They feel like they don't have any community in the dating world. They find that they can't make these meaningful relationships because we are in this race to care less. So if somebody is struggling with that, right, they feel isolated, they feel like they don't have this sense of joy, community, etc., what is a piece of advice that you would give them?
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good question.
Thanks.
The big thing I'd say is that you aren't alone in feeling that way. Recognizing that the people around you also want community. It's so scary to go out and like, maybe you give yourself little side quests that feel doable. One a day, and add some whimsy into it, making it into a game. Yes.
People want whimsy.
Whimsy really helps of like, okay, I put my to-do list on a, 20-sided die. I assign all my items on a to-do list to a Dungeons & Dragons dice, and I'll roll things. And some of the things on that list will be like social tasks that make me nervous. Text this new friend and ask them to hang out. And it's so scary. And I make it into a game, and I give myself points for doing it. And
Ben, I'm obsessed with you. I'm obsessed with you.
Just a big nerd.
No, but that's brilliant.
And that's what works for me.
Right.
I'm a huge nerd. So if you're really struggling, figure out what in your life is working. If the answer is that literally nothing in your life brings you joy, then hey, I love you, and get some help. It's time to talk to a therapist. It's time to talk to a psychiatrist. It's time to talk to somebody or to make some big changes in your life. But let's say there are things that either do currently or historically did bring you joy.
Right.
That might be things like Dungeons and Dragons. It might not be. It might be clubbing. It might be listening to, whatever kind of music. How can you connect what already is working with what you want to be working? It's like habit stacking, but with joy. So for writing, for example, I love to walk and I love to be in nature. If I'm stuck in a really sticky, terrible writer's block that feels awful, I will put in my headphones, I'll go for a walk, and I will dictate because I will connect it to something that I already love doing. How can you say, all right, I'm going to listen to my favorite album, and in the course of that album, I'm going to reach out to 5 people and say, I want to be here for you. And then when the album is done, the task is over.
And this is something that we've talked a lot about beforehand, you also are in this phase where you're only listening to albums all the way through. And I think that is chef's kiss. And I've tried to emulate it a lot.
It is so freeing. There's constant noise of do this faster, do this more efficiently. And the number of decisions that I have the ability to make at any moment in time. Do I want to go to this place? Do I want to listen to this song? Do I want to fast forward? Let me change the volume. Should I go out to eat? And advertising really leans on impulse and impulsivity. Freeing myself from the weight of okay, I'm always deciding. So for music, I don't listen to playlists anymore. I listen to an album start to finish. A, because I'm trying to rebuild my attention span, and because saying, I have my music set for the next 90 minutes.
Right.
I don't have to think about what I want to listen to because I'm listening to a good album. And even if it's a song I don't like that much, it will end. I will survive. And if it's a really bad song, I won't listen to the album anymore. That's fine.
Yeah. Well, and I think it goes back to this paradox of choice as well. I mean, even you texted me this morning saying, where should I get a bagel? And I was like, okay, well, there's that place, there's that place, there's that place. And I was like, Aiden, just send him your favorite one.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. But it's still, there's so much decision fatigue. And there's a New York Times article that I saw the cover to. I haven't read the piece yet. But it literally made me stop in my tracks. And it said, stop trying so hard to make the right choice. And I am a big right choice girl. I have written about it a ton. And in it, it said that just the knowledge that there is another choice can make you enjoy the activity that you are participating in less. And that's all we live in. We live in the world of unimaginable choice. You should see me try to order anything on a DoorDash. I'm it takes me an hour.
Yeah. And then you double dash. You finally figure out your order and it's get something more. Get something else.
Well, and the worst part, and this is, I am really outing something shameful here, is that there's always the buy one, get one, and there's always deals. And I am now programmed on DoorDash to only feel like I am getting something of value if I'm getting buy one, get one, which is insane because then I order so much food that I don't need. And it shows me how deeply conditioned I am, and yet I still cannot break it.
Yeah, and I want you to know I felt the shift in your body language, and you were like, okay, am I ready to say this and admit this?
Confess.
And it's programming. That feeling, the shame and the behavior, both are built by the same system that wants you to be more impulsive, to spend that money to make those choices, and to feel bad about it so they can then sell you feeling better.
Yeah.
The number of products, when I look at advertising, I'm always looking at what is this product trying to sell me?
Right.
I think it says something really interesting about humanity when you can see what are they trying to sell? Sometimes it's convenience. Sometimes it's peace. Sometimes it's you'll have friends, or you can be alone, or,
diamonds. That means love.
Yes.
It's a rock. No, it doesn't.
Exactly.
That's just really good marketing.
And there's so much marketing right now that's well, if you do this, you could be good. You could be doing a good job. You could be taking care of yourself. You could be a nice person, and they want you to feel bad about the behaviors they're also telling you to do so they can sell you feeling better. Right. And that's a trap. You're already good.
You are already good, listener. And not just for listening to this podcast. You're just good for being
extra
you.
Good, especially if you subscribe and follow and share the episode with your friends.
But it's so hard. How do you exist? Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, that is something I really grapple with on how to market the show, how to get the word out there, how to hook, how to everything has to be optimized now.
Yeah.
And let me just say, you don't have to be optimized. You can just rest, which brings me to robots.
Yeah.
And let me tell you why. Actually, I'm going to have you tell me why, because you introduced me to a book that I read, I'd say like a month ago now.
Yeah.
And I should probably read it now again because it's needed. And it made me weep in a way that I have not. Actually, weeping is too passive. It made me sob.
Wow.
So can you tell the listeners a little bit about A Psalm for the Wild Built?
My favorite book is called A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. I always hard pronounce the M so that everyone gets it right. A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers, which is a gentle solar punk, which is like science fiction. It's like the opposite of dystopian fiction. Solar punk is radically dreaming of something beautifully better. It is a solar punk post-apocalypse in which the world has ended and then we've rebuilt something more beautiful, where a non-binary tea monk learns to take a break and meets a new robot who asks, what does humanity need, and who wants to see the world and learn about flowers and butterflies. And they go on this journey together of learning what rest looks like and what love looks like. And it's a short book, and every time I'm burned out, I just sit and I read it, and I also cry. It's my favorite book.
It's an exceptional piece of art.
Yes.
I have recommended it to so many people. I'm sure I've talked about it on the podcast as like soon as I was reading it.
Yeah.
But again, it just makes you look at taking a break and taking rest for yourself. And I think sort of bringing it back to pride and bringing it back to the fight and joy and resistance, like it is really important to remember that there are ways that you need to take care of yourself in this day and age. What would you say to somebody who's feeling a bit hopeless and a bit burnt out and needing a little bit of hope?
Yeah. There's so much to be hopeful about. What I want to say first is that I am here with you. I see you. I love you in your grief, in your despair, in your anger. None of these are wrong emotions to feel when you look out at the world. And what I want to say is that my catchphrase, your despair is someone else's business model. It is.
Say that again.
On it. Your despair is someone else's business model.
Yeah.
So many companies eager for you to feel disconnected enough that you won't ask your friend for a ride to the airport, or that you're too afraid to stop scrolling because you can't go out and meet your neighbors. What if they're hateful? What if they're like the awful people in the comments section telling you, these horrible things about yourself? They feed on our division. They feed on our hopelessness. News networks make much more money with terrible headlines than they do with joyful ones. Social media platforms make their revenue best by pitting us against each other, showing us content, making us feel like the world is literally ending and nothing has ever been as bad as it is now. There are things that are worth being angry about, worth grieving over. The despair you feel is in many ways real and in many ways engineered. So the biggest thing I'd say is if you feel despair, I know there are real things to despair about, and there are a lot of things making it worse. Really, really consider looking into setting some intentional boundaries with the news and social media. We've got to find a balance. Give yourself permission to know less, to do more. I am not the most well-informed person you'll meet, but I am one of the most engaged. That is not a coincidence. So engaging on your terms, looking for reasons to be hopeful. I seek out joy and hope, and that has fundamentally changed the structure of my brain.
Right.
I have a newsletter, Good Queer News, on Substack, where I talk about all the good things that are happening. And I love publishing that newsletter, but that part is almost secondary to me, because the thing that matters most to me about that newsletter is that every week I sit down and for 2 hours, Google search what good things are happening right now. I look up small town pride festivals. I read interviews with faith leaders. I get to meet people. I read hopeful literature. I look at queer history. I collect hope. And looking for that predisposes me to it. Everywhere I'm walking around, I'm seeing hope. I'm seeing joy. I'm looking for that already. So you have to decide to look for joy.
Right.
No one will choose joy for you. And in fact, other people will choose something else on your behalf.
And it won't be fed to you. Like we are fed so much information. And I think that's a really important distinction, is that joy and hope will not be given to you, even if you think like that puppy video is giving you that. It's really not.
Yeah.
And I do just really want to reiterate that seeking that out is so important.
Yes.
Where do you seek it out primarily?
Oh, I think the big one for me is through empowerment. I find that joy through realizing that I have the ability to affect change in the world around me. It
Mm,
feeds itself. Maybe
yeah.
that means something called plogging, which started in Sweden. It means picking up litter while jogging.
Oh my
So
God.
sometimes it's plogging.
I'm learning
That
so many new terms from you.
I
Squish,
know.
plugging. Okay.
Squish and flogging. I'm so
Hmm.
transgender. All these words are all
And Becky
non-binary names.
Chambers.
So sometimes it's doing little things that remind
Yeah.
me I have the power to make my neighborhood more beautiful and safer for all the little babies and dogs because I bring a trash bag and pick up the glass from the broken bottle that
Mm,
somebody had to do something about. Or by using the skills that I have, I volunteer to do free events for PFLAG chapters to tell my story. And
right.
I get to meet people who care about supporting their trans kids. And I get to realize I have the ability to make a difference in my community through volunteering. And then I make friends while I do that. That's most of my friends are people I've met while doing work that's meaningful to
Hmm.
me. So it looks like that. It looks like empowerment, which will fuel itself. People who
Right.
are more empowered are more hopeful because they get to see the results of what they're doing. And I find it through
Yeah.
play.
And again, I think as we grow up and become adults, we are told that play is unacceptable, or that being
Yeah.
youthful is unacceptable. But the world sucks, and sometimes you just want to play.
Yeah.
Something else that I'm remembering fragments of that we talked about on a Substack Live is how you choose events to go to based on if they have two parameters
Oh,
that you share in
yes.
common. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah. So when I'm trying to make new friends, a big thing for me, I'm always so nervous about do I go to this event? Where do I meet people if I
Yeah.
want friends?
And a lot of people ask me that. And I don't
Yeah.
always have great answers.
I try and find spaces where I'm going to have at least two things in common with people. Maybe it's an LGBTQ book club. Maybe it is a queer hiking group. Maybe it has
Hmm.
nothing to do with my queer identity. Often it does, but
Right.
not always. But when I have multiple dimensions of things in common with people, I find that I feel, okay, I know what to talk about with people. I've got ideas. We can talk about the activity. We can
Right.
talk about our identities. I can tell my story. And sometimes I get that. Sometimes I don't. But I find that the places where I really find the friends I want to meet is by being willing to have at least two things in common with people and then being willing to be earnest. So I get into that space and I say I'm not leaving without at least one person's phone number.
Yeah.
And that's a goal that I set up with my therapist because therapy helps me have the tools to choose joy and to pull out of difficult moments. Everyone should be in therapy.
Mhm.
And so we set the goal. I was originally like, I need to get 5 phone numbers. And he was like, or 1.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, 1. And
Well,
so
again,
I'll get
it makes it
1.
approachable. It makes it accessible. That is also, it's some form of contact, right? For me, it can
Yeah.
be an Instagram. It can be a phone number. It can be giving someone my card.
Exactly.
Bring back cards, by the way, you guys. I have been using my cards recently, and people love having a physical card.
Ooh, okay.
But again, I was like, if I can just settle the expectation that I need to be the most outgoing, that I need to be, honestly, sometimes someone that I'm not. Like, I actually get really bad
Yeah.
social anxiety in groups like that. I have a really hard time going to things alone. And I feel super awkward when I'm there, especially like before I've found the rhythm. And I think a lot of people
Yeah.
don't go to events, don't go to spaces where they might be uncomfortable like that because it's so much easier now to stay at home with our phones, to stay at home with our streaming, to stay at home, period. And so, again, I say this all the time, but like discomfort is important and discomfort is how we grow. And it is like the best counter that I've ever found to despair.
Yeah. And
Is like learning how to grow.
that discomfort tolerance, we can microdose it, right? So whenever I notice these impulses in myself that I say,
Right.
I can tell that this has been kind of trained into me, let me notice what the structure of the training is. So some of our social disconnection comes from the normalization of Instagram, for example, letting you cut out every single instance of silence from a conversation. So we're starting to learn conversations should never have silence, or the normalization of, you hold down to get it to go double speed so that someone can talk faster and you scroll away if a video gets boring. What we're trained by from that is that you should never, ever have to wait for a response. The response will be perfect. It will come right away. And if it's uncomfortable, you can immediately disengage.
Right.
So maybe we don't throw ourselves right into a history lecture or something really long that will have a lot of discomfort tolerance. But if
Right.
I'm starting my training, I'm I have to watch to the end of every video. I'm allowed to be on my phone, but I can't fast forward.
Right.
And then I have to watch to the end of every video. And then I'm going to go and have a phone call with somebody that I love.
Yeah.
And I'm only allowed to do tactile things, not any visual things. So set up a training plan for yourself. If you want to be able to tolerate discomfort, you can train yourself into that.
Right.
Give yourself grace. Don't just say, why can't I tolerate discomfort? Let me throw myself in and then ask why I feel anxious.
Of course.
Of course we feel anxious. So for me, my training plan right now is rebuilding my attention span. That means that my phone does not live in the room where I live. It means I use screen time blockers. It means I'm reading, books. I'm not allowed to stop reading a book unless it meets specific criteria of like how horrible it is. But if it's a little boring, I'm going to keep reading and I'll listen to full albums.
Well, even our screens have changed how we read. We read differently on screens than we do a book. When we read on screens, our eyes flit around to find the most important piece of information. And when we read, obviously we read in Western culture linearly from left to right. But I have found myself, it feels different when I'm reading on my Kindle even than a physical book.
Interesting.
And I catch myself jumping and I'm like, Aiden, stop. Go back. And I do have to retrain my brain because, again, everything that the platforms are doing to us, they don't want us to notice that it's happening. And just speaking about discomfort and discomfort's tolerance, I think what I want to let the listener in on is that this conversation has taken 17 turns away from where I thought it was going to go. But something that I'm really striving for and something that I think I want to commit to for season 2, we'll see if it happens, is like letting a conversation be uncomfortable in this podcast and saying, I don't know where this is going to go. I know like what I want to talk about, but I didn't know we're going to talk about half of the stuff that we ended up talking. I didn't know we were going to talk about warriors cats. But
I'm
here
glad
we are.
We did.
I
It
am
was never the
too.
plan.
And so like if you're listening and you find yourself getting uncomfortable in conversations, know that we do too. And I do. And it's something that I feel vulnerable about as a host because I feel like I'm shepherding, but you are on this journey with me and you, Ben, are on this journey with me. And that is the whole point. And sometimes it's not going to be polished and comfortable and like perfectly optimized for the algorithm, but it is human connection.
Yeah, no human is meant to be optimized. We can't optimize our connections either. You're already optimal.
You're
already perfect. Listener,
just by being you.
You are good enough. Let the conversation meander. Let your thoughts meander. It's okay. It's good.
And you need to be bored.
Yeah.
You really need to be bored. That's the only place that your thoughts take you. Okay. Now we're just going to go into the questions. If joy was a food, what food would it be?
Spaghetti.
Why?
I really like pasta. That's honestly the whole answer. It's not a deep answer.
Okay, now tea is a very big part of your life.
Yeah.
What's your favorite kind of tea?
Oh, that's a really good question. I love like a mint lavender. I'm such a punk for mint lavender. I love it. But also just tea that I share with people. I have this fancy little tea set that does not work for one person. You have to drink from it in a group.
But
so
I love
to make tea for my friends.
Going back to our conversation about whimsy and even dating and adventures and finding ways to make life fun, what I have found, and I firmly believe this, is that the most memorable, exciting, bonding opportunities are the ones that are out of the ordinary. The best parts that people talk about of our wedding were the parts that weren't a conventional wedding. And so if you're listening, let me give you permission to plan a weird fucking outing with somebody. Even if it's a first date. Honestly, better. Like, just really give yourself permission to be whimsical and earnest because 10 out of 10 times the other person will love that.
Lean in. And if they don't lean in with you, then they're the wrong person.
Exactly. Yeah. Go do something exciting and fun. And honestly, go do something exciting and fun for Pride.
Yes.
What is your go-to move when you walk into a room where you don't know anyone?
Oh, let's see. First, convince myself not to leave. That's the honest answer.
Yes, honestly, same.
Convince myself not to leave. Then look for someone else who also looks like they're anxious because what we have in common is that neither of us is talking to anyone at this party. And that counts for me, is like, let me find the people who want to be there. And let me treat the person that I'm going to go and talk to like they are the most exciting person in the room. I'm going to lean into earnestness.
Yep.
And every person in this world, I think, has something to teach me and is worth talking to. So I will go to that person. I'll be like, oh my gosh, hi. It's so great to meet you. This is a really fun party. Like, sometimes I'll be real and be like, I see we're both standing awkwardly on the perimeter. Want to be my friend? Want to hang out? Let's go somewhere. And then if I see somebody I know, I'm not going to abandon that person.
Right.
I will bring them with me.
Of course.
As soon as I'm in a group, I love to look for the people on the walls, because that was me 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And say, oh my gosh, Ben, come here. I need you to hear this story. Or, hey, I don't know you. Do you want to come and stand with us?
Oh.
So I look for the people who are on the outside with me, and I make a joke about it. And then I be earnest as hell.
And pro tip, give them a compliment.
Yes.
That is what someone did to me at some event. They're like, oh my God, I love your shirt. And then we became friends. And I was like, oh, it's that easy. You literally just pick something, say you love it.
Kindergarten rules.
Kindergarten rules. What would you say to someone who has given up hope of things getting better?
Yeah. I want you to know again, I see you and I love you in your grief, in your despair. I am not here to tell you that you're entirely unreasonable. I'm not going to gaslight you. But what I want to say is that there is no certainty here. I do not have certainty everything will work out. You cannot have certainty that nothing will work out. In fact, the only way we can guarantee how things are going to go is if we all give up.
Yeah.
Then I know we will lose. But I don't have hope because I have certainty. I have hope because it gives me what I need to be able to act. In the world of politics, one of my favorite statistics is that on the day that Zoran Mamdani won the nomination, not even the election, when he won the nomination, there's an organization called Run for Something, which helps young progressives train and prepare to get into office and make meaningful grassroots change. On the day that he won, 1,500 people reached out to ask how to run for office in their local communities.
Wow.
That is amazing. How could I look at that and feel anything but hopeful? And that was on one day. That organization has existed for years. They will continue to exist. There are so many things worth being hopeful about. And the moral of this story is that everyone thinks they're alone in caring. That's not a coincidence. That's intentional messaging, or the fact that, people in rural Missouri are not wasting their time making a big social media platform to talk to people in New York about what they're doing. They're just doing it. But know that there is more good work happening than we will ever be able to see. Everywhere on this planet is full of good people who care, who want the world to be better and safer, and who are doing something about it. There are so many reasons to be hopeful. It's not certainty, but I'm hopeful because I have to try.
Wow. I think that is honestly like the perfect Pride tie-in too. I would say do something that makes you feel hopeful, or do something that feels right to you this Pride season.
Yeah. Recognize your queer ancestors, your transcestors, and refer to yourself as what you are, a future queer ancestor. Maybe your story will be told. Maybe you'll be in a picture that some gay kid looks at 80 years from the future and says, I see myself in this picture. Well, who do you want to be for the people for whom you will be an ancestor? It's so cool that we get to remind ourselves we are not cosmically alone. We stand on the backs of so many people who built the world we're in now, and we get to keep building on that legacy.
Everything that you say is brilliant. I'm so obsessed. I mean, like, and I have Harvey Milk's words tattooed on my body. He died many years before I was born. He had no idea that his actions would have an impact on me.
Yeah.
We are part of this beautiful lineage and legacy, most of which we will never know the impacts of.
Yeah.
And now our final 3 questions. What is something you're feeling curious about these days?
I think I'm curious about rest. I'm really wanting to take like a legitimate sabbatical this summer of like, okay, I am taking a break because I know that the fall is going to be super busy. I'm going to be doing a ton of work for the midterms. I'm going to be doing a lot of speaking work. I want to take the summer to exist for myself.
Yep.
I want to write. I want to recharge before what will be a grueling and intense fall. So what's that going to look like for me? And I think I'm very curious about how I can build that in a way that feels good.
You and me both, which again is a great reminder that this podcast will be taking a summer break because I need to rest too.
So go back and listen to all your favorite episodes from the past and send them to your friends.
Share them. Don't let the momentum die. But no, also rest. When you're feeling down, how do you seek out connection?
I have a copy and paste message in my notes app. When I'm feeling really depressed, I just copy it and send it to my friends.
Wow.
That basically is just like, I'm really struggling right now. Here's something that I would really love. Are you free to go for a walk and talk on the phone with me?
I love that.
Yeah,
Again,
I make it easy for
pre-planning.
myself.
Yeah. So what a great answer. So if you're thinking that you might be in a situation where you're feeling that way, take a moment and write that note.
Yeah.
And the final question. What is a recent example of community that makes you smile?
Oh, okay. This isn't my community, but it is something that's I'm just so
Who
overjoyed
cares?
to
Yeah.
read about. Smith College
Okay.
right now. It is commencement weekend at Smith. It is a reunion weekend. All the alumni are there. And I read about this on the Substack of Dr. Sebastian Barr, who I
Okay.
am obsessed with. And basically, the Trump admin is pressuring Smith to stop admitting trans women into the college. And they have done a tremendous amount of organizing. All the different alumni groups are forming these signal chats and these Facebook groups to make trans-inclusive t-shirts and to wear trans pride pins. And they showed up to the alumni weekend, and there were all these like cells of organizing of people who were friends with each other. One whole group of alumni had brought pins to hand out to everybody with a trans flag, and the current students were handing out trans flag wristbands to everybody. And all individually, these random people who were not like professional organizers, who weren't full-time advocates, they're just normal people who heard that, who knew they were coming together and said, someone should do something about this, and I am someone. All found little beautiful ways to resist and to show up and to bring trans pride to the alumni parade and to graduation weekend, and all showing up with so much courage and community and love for the trans population at Smith. And I hope the trans population all over who's going to look at this example of love and say, I am not alone. There is so much love. So I was reading an article about that yesterday and just like grinning on the plane.
And I think that's a perfect example for pride is just like you listening have the power to enact change.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't want you to think that you do. And that change doesn't have to exist on a national level. It can just exist for you. It can exist for your friends, your community, but you have the power to make the world you want to live in.
Yeah, we tell ourselves someone should really do something about that. We are the ones we're waiting for. We will keep us safe. If you want someone to do something about it, okay, do it. Or ask, who do I need to become to be the person who can meet this moment?
Right. Or who can help me?
Exactly. Who can I learn from? Who can I call on? How can I grow? But there's no secret sauce that makes you ready. You'll never feel all the way ready. You're just going to do it.
Wow. I could talk to you literally forever.
All day.
For the people who want to keep listening or reading or experiencing your wisdom, where's the best place that they can find you?
Yeah, I am on Substack at Good Queer News, which is where I write about hope and joy and advocacy and the good things that we are fighting for.
It's so good.
I have a book called My Child is Trans, Now What? A Joy-Centered Approach to Support, all about how to lead with joy in supporting transgender loved ones. Those are the main places to find me. You can also find me at Trader Joe's in front of the pasta aisle, being indecisive about pasta shapes.
For spaghetti.
It's always going to be spaghetti.
Then thank you so much. I really couldn't think of a better guest to A, celebrate Pride with, and B, round out this first chapter.
I'm so glad you're my friend.
Likewise.
I'm really glad I got to be here. Happy Pride, everybody.
Happy Pride, everyone. Wow. Thank you so much, listener, for tuning in to this episode. Any episodes you've listened before, if you've listened to all 24, which is crazy, of our season 1, thank you so much. For season 2, we're coming back with a new space, some incredible, very exciting guests that I can't wait to tease to you. And yeah, if you are feeling a little sad, go over, follow me on Instagram, Aiden Wharton. I'll be posting plenty throughout the summer, and I cannot wait to come back in the fall with a brand new season of Getting Close for you. I'll always be here if you want to go back and listen to an episode and just hit play, and here I'll be. And actually now, remember, when connection feels far away, we start by getting close.